Hello everyone. It's been a moment since I've done a video, and you're going to see a lot of me in the next few weeks. So I just wanted to explore a topic that has been coming up a lot as I've been exploring what I'm here to support people in, and also what I'm here to support myself in. I love this idea that in our lives and coming to this planet, we're given a theme or a core theme, and maybe that'll change throughout our lives. But I know for me, a big theme is around being seen and is around revealing. And so when you have any theme, there's going to be the flip side of it. And so, the flip side of revealing oneself and being seen is hiding. And what does it mean to hide parts of ourselves from the world, from our community, but moreover from ourselves? And how can we lift that veil and start to greet ourselves more fully? And why, for me, I've been exploring what is in the way of greeting ourselves fully and being able to see ourselves fully. Because sometimes what can happen, what I've realized, is that in this really strange roundabout way, one of the most powerful tools for me in meeting and greeting myself more fully is actually sharing and being seen mid-process. And so this can be really intimidating because when I talk about mid-process, I'm talking about it's like the masterpiece before it's completed, that vulnerability of bringing in someone to show them something that is not at its full completion, that it's going to be so exceptional. But part of this journey of being seen is being able to be like, we are these masterpieces that aren't completed. And part of the completion of the masterpiece is like looking and going in and noticing what parts need to be addressed. So what I wanted to explore today, and hello everyone popping on, was the journey of revealing oneself to the world. And I feel like the invisibles are going to pop into today, because what I've noticed in myself, and I've been kind of geeking out over business and supporting women be seen, and realizing that so much of the block to putting your work out there is just get as simple as being scared to be seen in your magic, to be scared to be seen mid-process, and the shunning that can come from that. But also for me, what I've realized is there's this magnetism of the people around me that I watch as they share mid-process, as they bravely let themselves be the novice and put their work out there and put themselves out there. Because what it's showing, and what I think the world needs more of, is to know that we can be stumbling, and through what we're giving, we can be honestly raw, that we might not have all the answers. So what I wanted to explore right now, and I feel like the invisibles are going to talk a little bit. So sit back, everyone. If you were to take something that is so precious to you and bury it, to keep it safe, bury it from harm's way, bury it from all the variables that life can come to it. Perhaps there's storms, perhaps it could smash, perhaps someone could steal it, perhaps it would tarnish in the sun. So you bury this precious, precious thing to you, only to realize that now what has been so precious is inaccessible to you as well. That this journey of being seen is realizing that in the process of sharing, in the process of offering to your community, to the world, you are actually bravely holding out this preciousness, knowing that there are so many variable things that can come its way. But that you sharing what is so precious is what allows you to taste it fully. Have you ever shared a meal, a small portion for 10 people, and the nourishment that can come from that morsel compared to eating that meal by yourself? That's what we're talking about. And so in this journey of finding something that's sacred to you, finding something that's beckoning you to be shared, sometimes it's as simple as an opinion that is bubbling in you, an opinion that may be controversial, an opinion that could sway the decisions of people around you. Sometimes it's as simple as that. But each of you are holding wisdom that is uniquely tailored from the lens that you're viewing this world with. And in that, there's perfection. And so as you are bravely taking and unburying this precious, precious object, we want to encourage you to know what environment is going to keep it safe. How can you tend it? Oops, they're kind of popping out. So they're showing me this image of, with these offerings or with these sacred things that we want to share, like observing them almost like an object. So what kind of environment is going to nurture them? What kind of, perhaps there's certain people that you feel really safe to share something precious with. And that maybe that's the beginning stages that you could start with. And then maybe it'll go a little bit beyond that. Then maybe realize that what you want to share requires collaboration in order to come into full completion. Because sometimes what we want to share actually involves connecting with a myriad of people to bring that into fruition. That what we want to share is sometimes the vision, and sharing that vision and calling for the people to come in and hold their keys and hold their pieces for that vision is important. So I just wanted to share that a bit today, is knowing that if there's something in you that has been burning a hole in your back pocket and it's been wanting to be shared, I'm specifically talking more of like perhaps it's an offering, perhaps you've wanted to experiment with an offering or a teaching, or that the process of finding somebody that you can explore that with in a safe container, finding a group, calling in some close allies, and you can be honest, you can say this is a delicate thing that you have, that you're holding lightly, and just starting to build that confidence with bringing this part of yourself out and being viewed, and that there's an evolution that comes in that process. And I know my journey with working with Invisibles and the work I've done was pretty intense, my training process, because with my guides, the agreement that we had was I had to agree, if they were to train me, I had to agree to do every single transmission live. So imagine that when you're practicing, it's like, okay, you've just opened the manual and now your teacher's like, okay, demonstrate what you're learning right here in front of who knows how many. And I found that this vulnerability and this rawness was part of my evolution, and that there is an evolution that comes in bravely being vulnerable to our community in the stages that we're at, and that there's certain growth and a certain defying of the stories in your mind and the beliefs that you might be holding that the only way to crack those beliefs, to break those spells, is to actually let the world show you if they're correct, right? So there's so many beliefs in us that need to be disproved because it's really easy for them to live on and to have life when they're just within us, when we're not giving them a chance for life to disprove them through really grounded experiences and reflections. And so I know for me, this concept, and I talk to a lot of people about this, about being shared in our magic and being shared, sharing our witchy ways with the world. And the more that I do that, the more that I realize that it's actually whatever this fear has been and whatever this what's the word? Not compression. What's that word? It's like the squishing force of life that comes down. But that a lot of what is the resistance in ourselves is really stemming from the beliefs that we have around our ability to be held and to have what we're sharing be nurtured and tended to. And so part of like kind of what the invisible are saying is you have to share knowing that you might not be received and like the results might not be as supportive as you want. You might fail, you might not. But every time that you step forward and every time that you put yourself out there a little bit more, you're doing it for yourself, right? You're proving that little voice that you actually, it doesn't really matter necessarily what the reaction of the world it has upon your offerings, is that each time you do it, you become more confident, and then vibrationally your offerings actually create a magnetism, which is really cool, and start attracting people. And so what I realized too, like I call it the lighthouse with my work, is if I'm really in a place of internal like hiding or needing to replenish, which I have been for the last 4 months being pregnant, it's like I'm not going to be putting myself out there, and even if I am, it's not energetically going to be attracting people because I'm kind of like putting myself out there like, and don't read back like here's a little this. And so this journey of being seen is also acknowledging that what you're putting out there vibrationally, this is my belief, what you're putting out there vibrationally is going to attract what you're able to handle, right? So, I have, you might put on an event and expect, 30 people to show up, but then the people that show up, just say you have 3 or 4 people show up, most likely those are the people that you actually vibrationally feel safe with, and that you've kind of this is an idea I have, but like have let into the sacred vessel of your offering. And so, and might offer again, and the same thing might happen where there's a very select kind of people that show up. And what I've realized is that doesn't reflect your ability to hold larger groups of space, but it just shows like where you're at in your ability to be seen and who you're and what you're able to support energetically. And so kind of the same goes with money, I think of, is that with my relationship with money, I've like slowly, because I had many years of having very little to like $5 in my pocket for a month kind of experiences. And that as I became more comfortable with money and what it meant to like hold on to it and vibrationally tend to it, then I slowly was able to hold more and slowly able to take more responsibility and feel more confident with being responsible and being accessible. And I see that same way with sharing, is that it might start like we can only share one-on-one with people, like these really precious offerings, or these, perhaps it's the modalities or these conversations, but that as you kind of start getting comfortable with holding that space, for me as like a ritual holder, it also goes in that vibrational way. It's like how much space can you hold energetically, but like as you get comfortable kind of holding just a little bit more, then the options also advance. So then you can start expanding into, okay, maybe this new way of offering, and this maybe going from one-on-one to a small group, maybe going from a group to a retreat. Maybe you can slowly start expanding what you can hold, and to be gentle with yourself in the process with that. So that's that's one of the teachings that I feel called to share, because I mean, I'm putting on a course right now called Share Your Shine, starting in a few weeks. Enrollment is open. And even in this process of like putting this together, and I've been like holding on to this because it felt so precious to me for so long. And to the point that literally the day before I was about to start launching it, my computer screen just went crazy. I thought and I couldn't see anything, and I brought it to the shop, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, like you should throw your computer out," pretty much. And I didn't take that for I didn't. I was like, "What? I'm just gonna fix it." So I brought it home and like opened it up and was able to actually fix my computer screen a bit. And it feels very symbolic because literally I'm talking about being seen with the work I'm doing and wanting to support people of being seen. And I can't even see, like, the vessel I was going to use, this computer actually is not letting me see. And so to know that even in our process of expanding and being stretchy, that there's all these different variables that'll come our way I had a choice. I gotta throw my computer out, or you'd be like, actually, I'm willing to open up my computer, which I know nothing about, and start fiddling around, because that's how important it is to be seen and to move through this resistance pattern. So I don't know if that's helpful, but I want to thank everyone for popping on. And yeah, just the prayer I have for you is to firstly let yourself be honest if there's something in you that is yearning to be cultivated and shared. Just be honest about that, and just starting with that desire, because it might not be something that seems feasible right away. It might not be something that you even have all the pieces for, all the people or players for, but that this process of just being honest, knowing that this is actually deeply precious to you, this desire is deeply precious to you, starting with that, starting to creating a relationship with you and this offering, you and this seed. And then you can start listening to the offering itself, which is the cool thing, is realizing that, like, I see this with my own business, is my business is a being, like it's kind of its own presence that I get to court with and commune with and learn from, and that I am evolving through my offerings and through my business, and realizing that you can also check in with your business and check in with this offering and ask for it to give you the feedback, because I see that there are these greater visions that we get the honor of actually being aware of. And in that awareness then comes the responsibility of tending. And what does it mean to tend a vision that is sacred to you? And how do you create space for that? And what does space look like, especially if it's something that can seem really ambiguous at first? And sometimes creating that space is also just starting to talk to somebody about it. Saying, I have this idea, I'm just can I brainstorm with you? And start breathing life towards it, right? Because it's in that breathing life towards what we're curious about that then the next steps can become clear, right? And then once you start breathing life or communicating about it or journaling about it, then maybe most likely a piece is going to come your way, or maybe you start researching a bit and get to the next piece, and you can follow these breadcrumbs towards finally getting to that dream that you hold so dear. But a big part about being seen is being able to be open to the process of all of those people that are going to be involved in this journey. That it's like this journey of growth and evolution, I don't believe is a very personal journey for me, at least. It's like I've spent my experience like unplugging from society and hiding in the forest, and which was magical. And at the end of the day, where I'm finding my purpose is in actually integrating into this world, integrating into offering, integrating into social media, having a computer and money, and that there's this sacred relationship with being accountable to this life and to this physical plane. And I found that for me has been a huge evolution in me, is realizing that there is compromises, right? Like the compromise of me cultivating and creating a business that is online means I'm like on the computer way more than I want to be, like so much more. And yet at the same time, that's what this little precious offering is desiring right now, right? And that's my compromise to all the beings I get to serve. And so just knowing that in this journey with your relationship with your work is like, there might be like my mom, she's an entrepreneur, and one of her words of wisdom was, take this for face value, but she's like, being an entrepreneur, 20, maybe 30% is like doing what you actually love, like that passion piece, that excitement piece. And then all the rest, and then the rest of it is all the rest. Like it's all the little nitpicky details. It's all like, the process of like cultivating the strength or the courage or the money or the resources or the, contacts or, the systems or the behind the scenes. But I'm just speaking to you because I want to remind you that it's so worth it, right? So whatever that process is that you're needing to bring this thing into fruition, it's so worth it. And I know my visions haunt me. Like if I have a seed in me that is ripe and fertile and I'm not taking any action to it and I haven't disowned it or like totally pushed it away, it haunts me because it's creator, it's life force saying, Sarah, here's your next step if you choose to accept it, right? And so that's what I have for you is, what is the next step for you? There's a question I have is there a next step that for whatever reason you might be skirting around? Sometimes that next step is actually just asking for help. I was an entrepreneur for 5 years maybe without actually taking on any other support. Like I had no like coaches, I hadn't taken any courses, I couldn't afford any, I really couldn't afford support with my business. And then finally I just got a credit card for the first time in my life and I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna invest in some support and realizing that was my evolution of my business, right? Like that was the next step for me because there's only so much that I could expand with my own comprehension of the laws and the rules of this world and how to be accessible. And so that's another piece I have in this journey of being seen is also, how are you making yourself accessible? And who are you making yourself accessible to? And maybe you're only accessible to your close-knit friends and that works really well for you, but perhaps what's you're holding wants to reach the masses, like wants to go to Turkey and wants to have people in Australia. And for me, with my relationship with my offerings, is I have to be okay with what it takes for me to honor the life force of these offerings because they want to be accessible and I'm the one that can make that happen, right? So I'm sharing this because it's alive and because I have this course coming up. Do check it, I'll plug it. It's me promoting myself, but also because I've just been seeing so many epic powerhouse creators in my community and extended community that are feeling like it's almost like feeling sabotaged or stagnant around being seen and sharing, and that process also of investing in the next step, and doing it not because it's gonna make you money, like taking these next steps because that's how we live more fully, right? At the end of the day, it's like this evolution in us comes through offering and comes through building community, or comes through creating these almost like these threads of expansion that are imperative to reminding us that we're part of a greater network here and we're not alone here in this planet. And how beautiful is that, right? So I feel pretty complete with that. If anyone has any questions, I'm open to that. I know there's people watching the replay. Or any observations in your own life? All right. Well, with that, I just want to thank you all for popping on, and have a beautiful, beautiful day and in your journey of revealing yourself, replenishing yourself so that you can have the strength to be seen. Ciao.